What's going on, guys? RBG here, bringing you more news on Marvel's Avengers. After months of coverage on the Gameverse tie-in comics, we finally reached the summit. It's been a decent ride immersing myself in these stories and getting a feel for this interpretation of the Avengers members. We got clues on characters who will officially appear in the game, and it's helped keep the anticipation going while we wait for the release. With that said, the anticipation has somewhat wavered due to Square Enix pushing the release date back to September. The game was originally set to release on May the 15th, which was a month and a half away from the tie-in comics that were leading up to it. But now there's going to be a 6-month gap between the two, and I'm wondering if we're going to get anything to tide us over while we wait. Hopefully the good people at Square Enix can at least give us some new trailers to keep the anticipation going. But anyways guys, I originally wanted to continue the tradition of covering one comic at a time, but if I'm gonna be honest with you, I was experiencing a little burnout on these, because while the stories are somewhat decent, they don't necessarily captivate everyone who are looking forward to them. The consistency and quality isn't all that great, and the art can be a little lackluster. After reading the newest entry in the tie-in series, I was really let down in the drop in quality. And that issue just so happens to star Captain America, a character that's essentially gained a resurgence in popularity after his introduction into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Since that iteration of Cap has become so prominent in today's modern media, fans expect other versions to carry a similar level of prestige. But unfortunately, Marvel's Avengers Captain America got off on the wrong foot. Whether it be harsh critiques about Crystal Dynamics' take on his iconic uniform, to most fans assuming that he'll barely be playable due to his alleged death in the promotions, it wasn't looking good for him. But something I always loved was how the comic book illustrators made the new costume more tolerable than its video game counterpart. Cap has a more heroic physique as opposed to his average Joe one in the video game, and you appreciate what the design team were trying to do with their portrayal of the character. With that said, Marvel's Avengers Captain America comic issue 1 takes a huge step backwards compared to the previous entries. Our story begins with Cap facing off against Backrock the Leaper, a French mercenary and master of kickboxing. In the midst of their fight, Captain America reflects on his early years as a superpowered soldier. And this shows that he's still adjusting to the modern times he woke up in after being frozen for over 75 years. It's something that's been a hallmark for the character, so I appreciate that the writer highlighted that aspect. What I don't appreciate is how this flashback jumps back and forth between the battle Cap is having with Batroc. It kinda threw off the pacing since the two moments don't really correlate. But anyways, back in the present time, Captain America becomes outnumbered when Batroc brings out extra muscle. They shoot at him with sonic cannons, but he manages to subdue the armed henchman. It's from there that Cap notices that Batroc is readying some mysterious weapon, and before he could get answers on what it is, it releases an electromagnetic pulse that pulls in damn near every metal object. This action manages to destroy half of Times Square, which was one of Batroc's plans. However, his other plan didn't go accordingly since his main objective was to open an armored truck only to see it was empty. So he flees the scene and Cap gives chase as the police arrive on the scene. After that, Cap attends a friend's funeral. It's from here that we get even more flashbacks, this time including his late friend. And once again, this was nice and all, but it had little to no bearing on what was going on with his battle with Batroc. It's almost as if the writers for this story didn't have much to work with, so they had to use Cap's past as filler. And I wouldn't mind this if it led to something, like if you're gonna do this, it has to lead to an ultimate payoff. But this story ends anticlimactically. Cap discovers that Batroc had a tracking device planted onto the armored truck and intended to use it to find S.H.I.E.L.D.'s weapons laboratory, but he's able to stop Batroc. So yeah, a pretty lackluster story with bad artwork to accompany it. This story did nothing to set up possible scenarios in the game, like the Hulk story set up 2 possible villains that could appear in the game. Iron Man's story sought up how transportation could possibly work in the game, but there's just nothing here. The only thing I can take away from it is the fact that the battle between Captain America and Batroc resulted in collateral damage just like the Hulk and Thor issue. It seems like that's going to become a point of contention for the Avengers, which will ultimately lead to them getting outlawed in the game's story. But anyways, since we got 2 comic book tie-ins for this month, I wanted to go ahead and do a breakdown on the Black Widow's comic book issue. And surprisingly, this is one of the best in the series. For one, the artwork is miles better than the artwork we got in Captain America. The story delves into a time when Black Widow, who was formerly a Russian agent, had just recently turned into an American asset that would also be trained to become a valued member of Nick Fury's S.H.I.E.L.D. agency. The story kicks off with our girl Natasha completely bodying other agents during a sparring session, and it's from that we discovered that there's a lot of hostility between her and her co-workers. Considering her checkered past as a Russian agent, the other members don't completely trust her, and Nick Fury seems to be the only one who sees value in her. He tells the team that she's going to be a valuable addition and that everyone should treat her as an asset. I mean, she did just mop the floor with 10 of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s best agents. After the session is over, Natasha and Nick have a discussion about her future with the organization. Nick encourages her to try to develop group cohesion with the others, but Natasha tells Nick that her training with a previous establishment taught her to fight as a precision machine and not to trust a single soul, not even her contemporaries. And for those of you who are wondering, she's basically talking about her training in the Red Room, which will play a prominent role in her upcoming film, which is dope. Everything seems to be going good in this comic so far, but I just gotta mention that the dialogue in all these comics has been a little hokey, especially with this particular issue. I mean, Natasha addresses herself in third person a lot in this, which is funny because if anyone has followed the Avengers movies or even read their comics, they would already know who she is, especially being that the comic is titled with her name. But this is arguably the best dialogue you're gonna get in this entire series. Anyways, Fury introduces Natasha to a more seasoned trainee by the name of Tony Masters. As soon as Master greets her with a formal handshake, she quickly averts the introduction with a kickflip and the two immediately hit it off. As the two fight each other, Tony tries to gain some familiarity with Natasha's fighting style, but he can't exactly pinpoint what it is. And Natasha explains that it's a rare form of ballet combined with other fundamentals of combat, but ballet is its core. Some weeks go by and Romanoff and Masters really got close. Tony treats her as his equal. Nick asks Natasha how things are going with her new friend, and she tells him that she was trained not to make friends, but Masters is tolerable. She considers him more of a comrade than a buddy. As the two continue having their little conversation, S.H.I.E.L.D. starts bringing in all the Hydra agents they arrested, but later that day, all hell broke loose. Somehow, all of the inmates have escaped. As a blackout occurs, every S.H.I.E.L.D. worker heads down to the cells to make sure no one got away. Thankfully, Natasha is already there knocking everyone out. Unfortunately, Tony Masters informs Fury that it was Natasha that released the prisoners from their cells, and he has proof to back it up. The first thing he points out is that she's the only one capable of maneuvering through S.H.I.E.L.D.'s laser security system. There's also the partial foot and handprints that were left on the scene that matches her own. Masters ultimately deduces that the jailbreak was only caused to spring the Hydra prisoners before they could reveal any intel, and that Natasha took down a few of them as a cover-up to prove her loyalty to S.H.I.E.L.D. It was from there that Natasha had heard enough. She quickly drew a knife and slashed Master's shoulder out of anger. The cut she made on his shirt exposed a burn mark on his arm that he more than likely got from trying to sneak past laser security. As soon as Fury realized that Natasha was innocent, Masters let off a flash grenade and hauled-tailed. But after weeks of sparring with him, Natasha saw this tactic coming a mile away. The two former comrades engage each other in combat, with Natasha catching Masters off guard with an unorthodox kick. Before her and Nick can apprehend him, he slides off the helicarrier and lands on top of a Hydra jet, escaping the scene. Just when Tony escapes, Nick informs us that actually Natasha could be a double agent after all, and she admits that she sold the codes to one particular inmate's cell, her former ballet trainer who worked for Russian Secret Services. Natasha explained that he was the only one who showed her kindness during her Red Room training, and it was that very same kindness that she clung onto to survive. She informs Nick that her former trainer wanted nothing but to live out his final years in peace, and asked him if he would consider letting him go, and Nick does just that. He lets him go and gives him a new identity. After that, the story skips ahead 5 years, and Nick Fury and Natasha notice that a villain by the name of the Taskmaster is up to no good. S.H.I.E.L.D. intel suggests that it's actually Tony Masters, but Natasha is still a bit apprehensive. But Fury reassures her by telling her that it's definitely him. Even though he was sloppy during his last fight with Natasha, he's upped his game after copying other people such as Captain America, Hawkeye, and even Natasha's moves. But Natasha mentions that she didn't teach Masters everything and that the next time they meet, it'll be his final lesson. And that's where the story ends. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this was a pretty awesome read. I absolutely loved how the writers meticulously highlighted the elements of betrayal and redemption. While everyone was so worried about Natasha betraying them, they ended up being betrayed by one of their own in the form of Tony Masters, who's also known as Taskmaster. I think the one thing that'll draw curiosity will be how this will play out in the game, being that this is a prelude to that. I also enjoyed how believable the characters were in this issue compared to the others. Like, even though we know that Tony was indeed the Taskmaster, he gives out this convincing resolve that he's one of the good guys. Speaking of that, I'd like to point out that the gear he's wearing is literally the same one he wears in the game minus the mask and hood. Something else I peeped out was one of the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents had these electric knuckle dusters. If you remember during the A-Day mission, Taskmaster's goons were armed with these very same weapons during the Cap segment. This confirms that Tony Stark wasn't the only one whose tech was compromised. Given the fact that Spymaster infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and hacked into their database, I wouldn't be surprised if he got a hold of their weapon schematics and sold them as well. So there's that. And to all of you guys who've been constantly asking about the whereabouts of Hawkeye and condemning the game for allegedly not having him, the story pretty much confirmed that he's in or at least exists in this particular universe. This was already confirmed when his LEGO tie-in figure for the game leaked alongside Black Panthers. So hopefully I've answered this question and you'll stop asking me. But anyways, this issue couldn't have come at a more convenient time. With the Black Widow revealing pieces of her backstory and facing off against the Taskmaster, it aimlessly insinuates what's to come with her upcoming movie. This is a character who's for the most part played a part in the back while the boys of the Avengers stood at the forefront. But now she's getting her turn to shine. Someone who also got their turn to shine is the illustrator. Michelle Bendini did an excellent job with the artwork in this. You can see the heavy emphasis she puts on selling you these characters' emotions. If I'm gonna rate each comic from least to worst, I'd have to rate Black Widow's issue at the top. This was the only comic in the entire series that actually establishes a clear timeline. It makes a link between a major villain featured in the game and one of the Avengers, and the end leads up directly right before the game will presumably start. While the others undoubtedly sow some of the seeds of what will unfold, they don't give you a sense of when they take place. So I'm putting Black Widow as number 1, the Hulk as number 2, Iron Man as number 3, Thor as number 4, and Captain America as number 5. But anyways guys, it was fun utilizing these comics as a liaison between the viewers and the game to see what will unfold. Sadly, this will be the last video I make like this until we get some official update trailers for Marvel's Avengers. Hopefully Crystal Dynamics and Square will give us something. But let me know what you think about this. Did you enjoy these issues? Or are you done with everything related to this game? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, I ask you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future videos. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.